Hey, TRCC Church family, welcome back to the Third Day Podcast, which today is going to be sort of the Father's Day edition. Even though we know Father's Day is already passed, we hope everybody had a great Father's Day and that you got to spend time with your family, and maybe you got a special meal or whatever it is that you guys did. But as always, I'm here with Pastor Chad and with Pastor DeTalente, Pastor Gordon, and you guys can go ahead and say hi.
Good afternoon. I guess good evening. I started to say good afternoon. It's about my bedtime. I go to bed at night at 9 o'clock, but I'm staying up a little later tonight. But I'm so glad to be here. I didn't want to miss this. I love doing this podcast. I look forward to it every week. I get to spend time with my two sons. We hash things out and we talk about each other and tell each other we love them, and we're going to bust them in the face and things like that. But it's all in fun.
Look how forward your headphones are riding on your head.
Why?
He looks like Lieutenant Gordy or whatever his name was from from Star Trek when he had the thing on his eyes. Professor Geordi.
LaForge.
Is that better?
LaForge.
Lieutenant LaForge.
That looks more.
It was LaForge.
Is that what it was?
LaForge.
That looks more comfortable to me.
Put them across your eyes.
Yeah,
Bob.
I know you like doing the podcast. It's fun. Doing podcasts are fun. I have a lot of fun doing the ones that we do.
Is this?
Yeah, for sure.
This?
Want to make sure that everybody that would definitely go and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I know it's been a little bit different, an adjustment, not watching them on Facebook. And I am posting clips and some shorts. And now Pastor Chad's wearing his headphones, silly. But I am posting that stuff, and hopefully you guys go on there and subscribe to that YouTube channel and kind of click the notifications. That way you'll always get not only notifications when the podcast comes out, but when the live services are airing and all of our information is up. But it's Father's Day. Did you guys have a good Father's Day?
I did.
Yeah. Yeah, Jocelyn came in town for the weekend, my oldest daughter, her and her husband. And it was nice. It always goes by too fast. They got here on Friday, and they left straight from lunch after church.
They always leave so fast.
Yeah,
they do. Like they're always going right after church.
Well, that's about a 3-hour drive.
Four. Because they're out by Kings Island. They're outside of Cincinnati. Like they're a little bit outside of Cincinnati.
For some reason on my YouTube feed lately, a bunch of stuff's been coming up about Kings Island. Last time I went there was my senior year.
I remember you going to that.
Yeah. But I guess since then, there's been like some weird stuff happen there, like some like deaths, and one day 3 people died at that park in one day. And two they died in separate. There were like separate, unrelated events, and 3 people died in the park on one day at Kings Island.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh.
and one of them was real crazy, where one of the ponds got electrified, and one guy got shocked and fell in. Another guy went in to save him.
Oh,
another guy went in to save him.
Good grief.
And 2 of those guys died. And then another girl was had drank too much and got real drunk. And she went and got on a ride that when you're setting up, the shoulder harnesses are over you. But it was a bad design flaw where if you would lay down, you're out of the constraint. Yeah, you're not the harness. And she got in there and passed out before the ride started and slid down there. And when the ride went upside down, she just crashed down on the ground and passed away too.
A couple years ago when we were in Orlando, Karen had a work trip. So we went with her, and she was working. The girls and I just hung out at the pool. It was at a Hilton, and from our room, you could see like an amusement park. It was like, it wasn't Disney obviously, but they had a huge like amusement park set up, and they had a slingshot. It was like a slingshot. And while we were there, a heavy kid got in the slingshot and wasn't buckled in properly. And they didn't check him like they should have. And when they shot up, he went out. And we didn't see it, but we saw the ride. Like we were there when it happened.
One of those real famous slingshot rides?
And he flew out of it and it killed him.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it killed him.
He probably got found in another county.
Oh, there's no telling.
Yeah.
Those just watching those videos, I'm like, there's no way I'd ever do that.
Oh, I'd ride it. I'd ride it. Shoot, man, that's fun. That looks fun. Those slingshot rides look really fun. I don't know if I don't think they show videos. They video everybody on them.
Yeah.
Ride. A lot of people
those
pass
videos
out.
Are hilarious.
If
you do it, I'll give you $1.
Oh, a whole $1.
Well, I mean,
I just went to Universal and rode. I ride roller coaster. I like rides, man. I like little rides.
yeah, you always did.
I'm keeping my feet on the ground, buddy.
I took Dad and Laura both on a roller coaster at Holiday World, but one of those, and like both of them almost died. Like they were both.
That's when they built
Holiday World's got some legit
a real
roller coasters.
all wood roller coaster or something.
Well, it wasn't the Raven because it was the Voyage.
Yes,
They have that new one as biscuits and gravy or something. Gravy, I don't know, but it literally shoots you like a rocket as fast as just crazy fast. The G forces, but it stops right before you come to the end of it, and it's got this thing that's supposed to catch you, but if those brakes don't catch it, you're just shooting off.
Well, they catch it.
It doesn't go in a circle or anything. The track stops, and you go to the end of that track, and then you'll see. You can.
Most of the time when bad accidents happen on those rides, every once in a while, of course, there's going to be malfunctions, but usually it's something that rider done. Usually the rider tried to stand up or didn't allow themselves to be buckled in because they weren't comfortable or something. People do dumb stuff all the time. That one person died at Holiday World because they decided they wanted to stand up at one point in the roller coaster, and they wedged something in their harness or whatever so that they would be able to do that on the ride.
Was that the husband and wife team that
they were coaster riders?
Yeah, coaster ride. Yeah,
is what they were. That.
Yeah.
We rode one up in Universal. It's called the Hagrid's Motorbike Adventure. It's a Harry Potter themed ride, but dude, you like at one point you just stop, and then you start going backward, and then you come to this one point, and you're like, "What are we doing?" We just stop for a second, and then the track just drops. Boom, and you just go straight down for a long way, and then you stop and you sit there for a minute, and then you take off again. It was crazy.
Do you come to a sudden stop?
Yeah, pretty sudden.
Well, I just wonder how that works on your neck. Remember, that's what killed Dale Earnhardt.
Well, yeah, they're not throwing you like that kind of speed. You're going fast, but they are absorbing that shock at the bottom, I'm sure, because I don't remember any pain. I just remember the shock of, you're not, even on a roller coaster, you're not expecting the bottom just to drop out.
No.
Just straight free fall.
I'll give that the good old holy nope.
It's fun though, man. And that roller coaster is shaped like a motorcycle. So you're up high on it.
Like you're riding a bike?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
It's really cool.
They've got that Tron, the new Tron one.
That's at Epcot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we didn't go to Disney. We went to Universal.
Yeah.
The last roller coaster I rode with Laura.
That was the Voyage. Yeah. And you guys acted like it killed you. Yeah. I had Sam with me, and Sam was little. And I was holding on to him because it felt like he was going to go out.
Dad scarred me when I was little. We went with a family. You were a baby. Was he born?
No, we took you to Six Flags.
You took me to Six Flags St. Louis.
Rode the Screaming
Eagle. He put me on the Screaming Eagle, and
you might have been 6 years old.
Well, then Brian had to be born.
Yeah.
So, but you took me on it, and you got me on it. I think I was almost too little to get on it, but man, I was traumatized.
Yeah.
I remember that. Here's a vivid memory from my childhood. I'll never forget it. We went to Holiday World, and it's weird. I guess we went as a family a couple times, just us or something. Did we? I guess.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that it was all mom, sisters, and everybody.
When I first got my driver's license, I don't know if you remember this. I had just got my driver's license. Mom and Dad bought their Dodge Dynasty, and so did Uncle Jimmy and Aunt Brenda.
Yeah, and we all rode up there, whatever.
And I couldn't believe it. Uncle Jimmy had just bought his Dynasty as well. I forgot where we were at. We were on Green River Road for some reason, South Green River Road. And he gets out of the car, him and Aunt Brenda, they get in the car with you guys. And then I drive you and Jimmy in their car, following them to.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, they let me drive their car. And
I kind of remember. Let me finish my story though.
Go ahead.
It's funny. Anyway, we were there. I don't know who all was there. I know we were all there. And Mom wanted a funnel cake. And so we went, there was that ride called the Snowflake right next to the funnel cake.
Yeah, the Snowflake. Yeah.
So I remember me and you got on there. We're like, we'll be fine. And you guys let us ride it. And the whole time he was like, get me off, please let me off. off. He was screaming and crying. I couldn't believe it. I was like, get yourself together. And you were older. You were like freaking out. Like, dude, you were flipping. Oh my gosh.
Was it kind of like a swirl? It just went
dude,
in a circle?
It was a little kiddie girly ride. It was fun. He was like, he looked like someone put him on a spaceship. He didn't know if he's ever going to get off.
I screamed.
You screamed and cried. You were crying. Big
I cried?
tear. Oh yeah. You cried a lot.
No. Whatever.
No, yeah, you were crying though. You were upset. It scared you for some reason.
Huh.
We got to spinning because it would spin on it.
When Jay,
you never rode it again. I don't think you ever rode that ride again.
They've got the turkey ride at Holiday World now.
Yeah, that was fun.
It's very similar to the Snowflake.
Yeah.
And Jade was, this has been, Jade's 12, so this was probably 5 or 6 years ago. 5 years ago, maybe. She was little. And I thought that'll be a safe ride to put her on with me. I wasn't thinking.
Is that one more like the Scrambler?
Yeah, it goes real fast. It spins real hard. And it goes in a circle, and then it's spinning real hard as it goes.
Are you weaving in and out with the other cars?
Yes.
I think that's like the Scrambler.
And so what was bad about it, here I am, 200 and something pounds, and Jade's like 6. So me weighing so much just kept causing it to spin hard. And she was so brave. She never cried. I put my arm in front of her. She just closed her eyes and was like, and calm until it was over. But that gave me vertigo. I got vertigo bad.
Yeah. Because it will make you dizzy.
Yeah, I had to get I had bad vertigo the next day.
That one right there?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that one. So I was on one end. It's just Jade and I, and it's a fun ride. It's very similar to the Snowflake, I think.
That's hilarious.
But
having
a 6-year-old.
You're right. That is like the Snowflake.
Having a 6-year-old and a 40-something-year-old at the
time.
So
this put you out of commission right here?
Well, it gave me bad vertigo. The spun so hard.
That looks like a bunch of little kids on there to me.
Oh, it is. It's a kiddie ride,
But it puts you out.
Poor guy. Yeah.
You know what? You just never liked rides. I don't ever remember you liking rides.
No, I never really did.
You were always kind of like, man, I don't. Yeah. You know what? Trevor's like that. Travis loves them, and Trevor
I've
likes.
Never been a big ride guy.
I used to ride them a few when I was younger, but I never did really care much.
See, now you guys would love Universal. You just don't ride the coasters. Everything else you guys would love.
That's kind of how Epcot is. Epcot's low key stuff. It's not.
The Universal stuff's not low key. Some of it's super intense, but it's just more virtual rides that don't actually, take you all over the place. Like the King Kong ride, like you're in a bus. You're riding on a bus. No seat belts and Kongs. There's just crazy. You're like in you're in the jungle in the bus, and yeah.
When I was a kid at Mesker Zoo, they had what they called the Bullet. It was a ride, and it was shaped like a capsule,
like a bullet,
like a capsule, and it'd go over each other. Like
oh yeah, man, I remember riding those Space Needles or whatever is what they call them at some point.
Yeah.
And they would just flip. They would just stand there and flip.
And
those are kind of scary. Those look like they're gonna slam you in the ground.
They made a lot of people throw up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've been in them, not been in them when they done it, but I've been on the ground and I'd see somebody up chuck and it'd go away.
Especially
I'm done at that point.
At
I'm going
carnivals,
home.
Man, you're eating all that junk food, and you get on there and your belly's full, and then they're spinning you too hard.
Man, I'm telling you that I'm all down with. I just said I like rides, man. That don't include carnival rides.
I have a phobia of
them carnies are doing meth in the alley and then going in there and hey, give me a cotter pin. I can't find one.
Yeah,
hey,
dude,
they give him a bobby pin.
Yeah, no,
I'll never forget. I went with a bunch of the guys from high school. We went to the fall festival. And they have all those carnies working. And I don't know, one of the guys yelled DeTalente, and a guy was standing there, and he was one of the carny workers, and he goes, DeTalente. He yelled it real loud. And I went over, he goes, come here, man. Went over to him, he goes, you know Nelson DeTalente? And he was Nelson Jr.'s age. He goes, man, that's my buddy, man. I know Junior. And he starts talking, and he goes, check this out. And he opens up his wallet. and he was a Ku Klux Klan member.
That's awful.
Horrible.
Yeah.
And he showed it, and I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about
Yeah,
that.
no, I don't either. It was crazy. I'm like, but that's the kind of weird stuff. Like, it was just weird. They went to school together, and then he showed me that like it was a cool thing, and I just remember going, "What the heck?" And I got out there, but he was tripping.
I'd have punched him in his face.
He looked like he was on some stuff.
That's awful.
A few years back, and I'm talking about quite a few years back, they used to have trouble down there at the Fall Festival.
Yeah.
Seemed like there was always a fight every night of it. And
it's still like, it's still bad.
Is it?
It's awful. Yeah. I
used to go for the food.
I don't go there at night or nothing.
I bet it's been
I used to love to go there for
years
lunch.
since I've been there.
Yeah. I bet it's been 2 or 3 since I've been. We'll go. Laura wants to go just like at lunchtime to get some food or something, but I don't go there in the evening, man. That's awful. It's terrible.
We would go in the evening in high school. You went in high school.
In high school.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't go now.
No.
I don't go in the evening now,
I remember winning goldfish.
Yeah, that's pretty much the main thing down there at that time. There wasn't even, I mean, there were other things, but yeah, I do. And that and like those mirrors of whatever, I remember when like
the
a
rock and roll
Prince
mirror. Yeah.
Like
I had a Def Leppard one.
They were just just mirrors, painted mirrors.
Yeah,
what
they were cool. I mean,
everybody had them.
Like Trevor and Travis would love them today.
Yeah, probably. And
they're so 80s.
I think I see one every once in a while. I'll see them some places.
Dude, I haven't seen any of those.
I feel like I seen a Def Leppard one not too long ago or something. It's probably old. It's probably. I don't even know where I seen it. It might have been on a video or something.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure.
Yeah, but that was huge. They were, that was the thing.
That was one of the main prizes you could win, man. That's what everybody won was mirrors and goldfish.
Yeah.
So changing the subject, did you have a good Father's Day today?
Yeah, man. Yesterday. Today wasn't Father's Day.
Well, I know it, but I thought you celebrated.
And now everybody knows we're recording Monday. So it's Monday, but to you it's Wednesday. So we hope you had a whole good week. But yeah, no, I had a good Father's Day, man. We hung out and kind of chilled. We never did make the lasagna, obviously. That's why you guys got a piece tonight.
Yes,
so
thank you, Laura.
Today. Yeah,
Laura DeTalente. I had Brian walks in with it, and I felt it was warm, and I said, "I'm eating mine right."
He ate it right when I brought it in. It's funny,
and it was so good.
He went looking for a fork.
I found one.
Yeah, I know that's funny. Where'd you find that at? In that closet?
In the closet.
Yeah. I thought you might want to eat it right away.
Oh, well, it was still warm.
It's still hot
and fresh.
Yeah. I know. I had to rush here.
Would you have one of them plastic forks?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd have been hard. I'd probably almost just ate it with my fingers.
It was a strong one.
No, it wasn't that bad. But well, man, how'd you like your?
By the way, Dad preached.
I know that's what I'm leading into. How'd you like your Father's Day preaching escapade?
I enjoyed it immensely.
You did good.
I enjoyed it.
I don't know why you announced your forever retirement at the end of the first service. He did not. Let me just set the record straight. We had a coaching moment after that, and he did not announce that in the second service, and he is not gonna. That is not going to be the last time you hear from him. The last time you hear from him will be at his funeral.
Well, now listen. I know it's going to be 6 months because you told me yesterday I get to preach the next 6 months.
There you go.
That's awesome.
You can.
No,
I'll go on vacation.
Listen, standing up there however long I stood up, right?
You did awesome.
Both services.
Yeah.
Were you tired?
Oh, my back. When I got done with that last service, my back was tearing me up.
Frank smacked my arm. He goes, "Man, he looks so good."
We can put a stool up there, man.
No, I was okay.
We did that before. Remember, he would sit on a stool, but man, he's doing so good. He's
a lot of young guys. A lot of young guys use stools these days.
Yeah, they do.
I see that I preached on that stool that day, and I just wasn't comfortable with it.
I did it that time. We got iced out, and so we just live streamed, and I did it from a stool. Yes. And it was okay. I wouldn't do it in our live services.
We like to move too much.
Yeah, I don't stay still.
Excuse me.
Yeah, but I thought it was a really good message, man. You was in Luke chapter 11, right?
Chapter 15.
Chapter 15, verse 11.
Verse 11.
Yeah. About talk about it. It was about the prodigal son.
Yeah.
I was a prodigal son, not in the same way. I never was greedy. I never left. I never asked you for I was never like, give me what's mine and I'm going to come back later and get you more. It was never like that kind of prodigal son. But I was definitely a prodigal son in the sense that I ran away from, the spiritual part of our lives. I was a typical pastor's kid. I ran as far away from church as I could. Yeah. I honestly, I feel like that was I feel like that's one of the big reasons, not preacher's kids or pastor's kids per se, but I think the prodigal son, is the number one message or parable, right? That where God's talking about even if we walk away, which a lot of times we do, that God's always willing to take us back.
Yeah.
And that's what good dads do and good fathers do. I'm always shocked and surprised, and I just can't believe it when I hear that parents and children have relationship tears where they don't speak or talk or anything.
I know people like that right now.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Absolutely.
And
I can't fathom that.
And some of them never get back together. And I can't imagine that ever happening in my life.
Well, and that's holding on to unforgiveness.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of the problem with the world. And the Bible says you got to forgive to be forgiven. And, God, Jesus even prayed it in the Lord's Prayer. He said, forgive us of our trespasses as we forgive those that trespass against us. And so many of us don't know how to let go and let God. We don't know how to let go. And we want to hold on to anger and bitterness. And
it's definitely something that, we tend to do is I don't know if it's because, I think a lot of times people the reason those relationships never mend, it's not even because let's just face it.
Pride.
Yeah. We get over everything.
Yeah.
No matter how bad it was, eventually you're over the actual offense. I think what keeps them from going back, is embarrassment and pride, not wanting to be the first one to say something or not wanting, or just flat out being so embarrassed of the way that you behave that you just are like, I'm just going to stay away, And I think that's what a lot of people do. But
and I agree. I think it's embarrassment and pride.
Yeah. But and I say all that to say we do the same thing with God, man. We get prideful and don't want to admit that we need him or admit that, we're wrong or admit that, whatever the case. Well, I know there's no shame, even in a human relationships, there's no shame like there is when you run away from God, because the devil will, that's one thing he'll do is he'll try to shame you, so make you feel so ashamed that it puts a block between you and God. You won't go back to God. God's not blocking you. God wants you to come back to him, but you won't do it because we allow shame to get on us. And that's why he told us there's no condemnation of those that are in Christ. He's like, I don't condemn. I don't do that. That was one of my problems always with kind of the Christians who made that their way into people was to be judgmental and call out everything they did and literally condemn them.
The church believes.
Because Jesus doesn't condemn us, right? He never did. And he didn't even condemn, and they say, well, you weren't, here's what I hear a lot. It's righteous judgment. That's,
you're not God.
Yeah. Well, no,
you're not God.
So here's the thing, man. Common sense tells us that, yes, we have to use judgment in situations,
right?
But we don't judge the people. And so even Jesus, so the story that comes to mind the most for that is, when the lady was in the temple, right? The hooker was in the temple.
Yes.
And, all of the men started, accusing her and condemning her and wanted to stone her. And Jesus stopped it. And he just said, hey, first thing he said, first, one without sin cast the first stone. Then he kneeled down and he drew some stuff in the sand. And then he stood back up and people looked at what he drew and they started throwing their rocks down. I wish I knew what he wrote.
Yeah.
Right.
And we don't.
Well, that's why he says, judge not lest ye be judged.
Yeah, no. But that's what I'm saying. But even then, all of those men left and it was just her and Jesus.
Yes.
And Jesus did not condemn her. He forgave
He loved
her.
her.
He said, hey, get up. Go and do good now.
Yeah, go and sin no more.
Yeah, go and sin no more. You're not judged. You're not condemned. Hey, go and do better. And here's the thing. If he would have seen her in the temple the next day in the same situation, he would have did it again.
He did the same thing. Yes, he would have.
Yeah. And so that's the way that the church should treat people. That's the way that Christians should treat people. And believe me, man, I'm the pot calling the kettle black a lot of times because I don't always do that. We all struggle as humans to be kind to each other, especially when things aren't going our way. I had a really bad travel day, and man, it's frustrating when we I think, I don't know why, what I've been thinking about a whole lot lately, and I think it's a theme is, I think the number one fruit of the Spirit that we should pray for is self-control.
Oh yes,
because I think self-control. Once you get self-control down, everything like that opens the door for everything else.
It's like a puzzle. You get the main piece in there, and then the rest will just fall in place.
And man, I'll be honest. Like, I'll lay it out. I'm transparent. I struggle with self-control when not the kind of self-control where I'll I'm completely out of control, but I struggle with self-control of not saying something too fast, or wearing the way I feel on my face, or getting mad in traffic, or what, you know what I'm saying? I lack it because we're so quick to anger and to, not necessarily, I do judge people as bad drivers pretty quickly.
Your mother judges me all the time.
I think self-control is a big subject. And I don't know why it kind of dwindled that way, or why I'm even talking about it, but I think it all ties in with,
well, the prodigal son.
The prodigal son, he
himself.
He just couldn't control his desires to get out and to get what he had coming to him, and what he thought was going to be a big party. And it's funny too, because like I said, I know it's a parable, but man, the story is like,
he blew it all. He blew his inheritance.
Yeah. Well, this is what we all do.
Eating slop with the pigs.
Like I said, I didn't go get greedy or nothing when I left, but I did end up eating slop with the pigs. I did end up in the ditch. I did end up, we all end up there. Like when we're away from God, that's where we end up, regardless of why we left.
Well, the Jews thought this way, that if you ask for your inheritance before the father died,
mm-hmm.
that was your wish, that they would go ahead and die.
Yeah, it was the same. They said it was the same. Well, yeah, it was such a big deal that it was this. He was literally looking at his dad and saying, "Hey, I wish you were dead.
Yeah,
I just want.
Give me
all
what's
I want
mine
is what's
and
mine.
Let me go."
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's why his brother had so much anger towards him.
Yeah, because he was like, "Here, I've been this whole time doing well."
On his part.
Yeah.
Who?
On the older brother. He was selfish.
He was jealous.
Yes.
I think.
Yes, selfish and jealous, yes.
He coveted the way his dad treated his brother,
younger brother, yeah.
Because he was like, you're rewarding him for coming back, but what you're doing is rewarding bad behavior. He came back and you're just throwing this big party, and here I am. I've never left you. I've never done anything wrong to you. All these years, and you've never thrown me a party.
He had unforgiveness in his heart.
Yeah.
Well, he just didn't realize. Honestly, what it boiled down to was he didn't realize his worth in his father's eyes already.
Yeah.
Right. That's what the older son didn't realize.
Yeah. Well, the father told him everything I got belongs to you.
Yeah. He said, "What are you talking about? Everything I have is yours." He's like, "You're right. You've never left me. I love you. I don't need to throw a party because
you're here.
You're here all the time."
Right.
And so I think that's a big part of it, is us not, a lot of times us getting in our feels so bad about thinking our lives are so bad or whatever. We don't, I don't think we realize our worth in God's eyes. It's hard to.
It is. We're humans and we think we're so unworthy.
Yeah.
God made us worthy.
He did make us worthy. Yeah. Jesus, the blood of Jesus made
us worthy. Yeah.
So nothing else could do it, because we're not worthy in our own anything. We're just not.
No, we don't deserve it.
Yeah. Our righteousness, our very best, stinks to God. That's what it says. Yeah. Your righteousness is from filthy rags in my nostrils.
Yeah, that's what he said.
He
said you'll never meet the cut, but his blood gave you that.
Yeah, you're never going to get where you.
Well, that's why Jesus had to come.
Yeah, that's exactly why.
I mean, that's
That's why it wasn't that we talk about the rescue story, and it was, but the word redeemed is literally the correct term. That's what he did. He redeemed it. He had to buy us. He had to buy our worthiness.
We're the blood bought sacrifice.
Yeah. So, and blood, and in a sense, blood was the only thing he could buy. A lot of people still don't understand that. They're like, well, why Jesus? They don't understand how that it perfectly matches what God required under the old law, right? That's something spotless and blemishless. You couldn't just go out in the field and grab any old goat or any old, when it was time to go in temple.
No, you couldn't.
You had to grab the best, the spotless,
as pure as you could,
as pure as that there was, right? And there was, and think about it. Even there were no perfect, so as close to perfect as you could. So then when Jesus came, here came the perfect sacrifice.
Yeah.
Right.
And see, it cost something because it wasn't just here you go do it. You're perfect. Good. Jesus still had to choose. He had to choose to live perfectly, and he did. And we knew he would, and he was God.
And he was tempted.
He was tempted.
And
yeah,
they said,
absolutely.
But what's cool about him, he never really had a knockdown drag out with the devil. He could have just smoked him, but he said, it is written. He just always used the word to overcome the enemy.
He used himself.
Yeah. What?
Yeah,
was the
first he's the living word of God.
Was the first sacrifice the one that God sacrificed the animal in the Garden of Eden
for the skin?
Yes.
For the sin of Adam and Eve.
Yep.
That was the first
to
sacrifice.
clothe them.
Yeah.
Yep. That was the first sacrifice. That was the first. That was the first. It was to clothe them.
Yep.
Yeah, it was to clothe them.
Yeah, that was the first death on planet Earth.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
At least on our go round. Because I'm not convinced we're the only go round. That's kind of my weird thing. You know what I mean?
Could be. Yeah.
He's God.
Who knows?
Well,
only God knows.
Here's why I say that. I wish I had the reference to pull up because I don't want to confuse people, but it's just something when they're talking about Satan being cast out of heaven, that was before Adam and Eve.
Yes.
But it says that when it said kings and kingdoms fell.
Right.
So there was,
Yes.
Not only this, think about this. When Cain killed Abel, God marked him because Cain was afraid other
send
people
him out to who?
Send him out to who?
Yeah.
Because there was, he was scared he was going to be murdered by who?
Yep.
You think it was Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel and that's it. But then he was marked. God marked him so people outside of Adam and Eve
would know.
Who's the other people? Yeah, exactly, man. There's so much we just don't know.
There's a lot we don't know.
Yeah, so much.
So what makes us think that the human race was the only one that he ever created?
I don't think that.
I know.
I don't know. I mean, I don't not think that either. I'm saying I don't know. So when people ask me, this is funny that it's going here. When people ask me if I believe in aliens, my answer is that I don't know that there are. I don't know that there aren't. Mm-hmm. I have no problem believing that there are. I have no problem believing that there aren't.
No, that's what I am too.
But I do think it's somewhat arrogant to think that God only created us.
Well, it says that heaven and earth and the things under the earth, like
we have no idea.
There's no telling. We'll worship him.
I will say this: there's way too much evidence for like unidentified flying objects.
Well, here's my
some of them might be military or whatever.
I think a lot of it's military, but I think a lot of it's also demons,
spirits,
spiritual warfare. Yeah. Because there's people. There's tons of interviews with credible people that said when people were being abducted, they said they cried out to Jesus, and as soon as they did, it would stop. The abduction would stop. I mean, that's power in the name of Jesus. Only the enemy would. You know what I mean? Like that's huge. You can Google it. You can YouTube.
That's all good, man. And I'm not saying that it can't be that or some of it, but I also think some could be. Like
there's just no telling.
Here's the question: is if God did, here's where it gets you start. And this can go so deep because the question is: if God did create other things, other worlds, other species, other humans like us or whatever, would He even allow us to interact or cross paths? You know what I'm saying? Or, I mean, I don't know. We know that there's going to be this great technology boom. There's stuff coming. There was an article a while ago that said people are not ready for what's coming with AI. They said the human race.
We get a
ready.
soft introduction. It's already here.
No, I know, but
it's just always a soft introduction.
Did you see the military?
I'd seen parts of it. It was pretty amazing.
Did you see the dogs and stuff?
Yeah,
the little
dogs,
robot dogs and stuff. Dude looks like G.I. Joe when we were kids.
I mean, and that's the thing they show you.
Your mother said that looks like a cartoon character.
Yeah. It looks like, and that's what they're saying. They're like, this is the future of war. It won't be men over there fighting. It would be us sending our robot army against, I'm telling you, Skynet's coming.
Oh, yeah. It's a precursor.
They will.
Did you see that? Okay, so the author, the woman that wrote The Matrix and Terminator, it's the same woman. She's the author of both. And John Connor is Neo in the Matrix.
No.
Or vice versa. Or Neo's John Connor. You can watch the whole interview. She wrote all the books. And she talks about it's the same character, and no one ever knew that. And she, they sit down. She had a sit down interview. She wrote all the books they made the movies based on, and she explained. And she said, JC represented Jesus Christ. I mean, she was tying it into the Bible. Kind of how like the Lord of the Rings is close to you, Mike. How the Lord of the Rings is tied into the a lot of it's kind of like biblical God versus the devil. Yeah. And
well, man, every
good and evil,
every story's like that.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Like that's one thing that always bothered me with the Harry Potter thing is people like judge it like it's so bad. It's a story of good versus bad. It is literally no different than Doctor Strange or whoever and that on Marvel. There's always there's a good
versus evil.
It's what it's about. And not just for that one, but for anything. And it's funny. I'll be honest, I'll be critical. It's funny watching Christians about this because they'll pick out the ones they like, and those are okay.
Yeah,
but the other ones aren't. Well, I feel that one though. It's like, oh, come on.
And that's at the end of the day, that's their opinion.
That's right.
That's their opinion.
Well, it's just. They're just shows. They're just movies. They're make-believe stories. I've always had a problem. Now, I do think that people can get evil in stories, and there can be things. And there's definitely we shouldn't put trash in our minds. Yeah, right. There are things that for sure where you can tell the author or the writer or the producer or whoever evil. You can tell their goal is to make it evil, right? Yeah. But there's a lot of stories that are just stories.
Yeah.
Just
like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Well, that one's actually Christian based by a Christian. I mean, that's what's his name?
Tolkien?
C.S. Lewis.
C.S. Lewis.
Yeah. Those movies are awesome though.
Oh, yeah.
But the Lion, I mean, it is the Lion
Aslan represents Jesus.
Yeah. The Lion of Judah. That's what I have on my arm. People ask what my tattoos are. That's what it is. The Lion of Judah.
And that's my logo.
Yeah. I always love the Lion of Judah.
Yeah.
The imagery of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's one, Christianity has, or not Christian, the Bible has such cool imagery that in most of it, you just have to, visualize in your head. But I mean, think about like giants and catapulting rocks up over it.
Well, the Nephilim were the Greek gods and the Norse gods. Yeah. I mean, that's what it was,
man. But maybe I don't know. The Nephilim stuff's it's weird. It got so much. It got so popular and so much traction that there's so much online.
It's overwhelming.
And you don't know what's real and what's not.
Right.
They Photoshop, they show you them graves with big, huge, giant skeletons. And I think those are, you can make that out. Somebody could 3D print that. Enough time. Yeah.
There's a guy named L.A. Marzulli. Danny Kester follows him. Mm-hmm. And he's gone to to the conference where these guys are at. And they've got some really good stuff. There's another guy named Rob Skiba. And he was tracking down Gilgamesh, which was Nimrod. Nimrod is...
Now, was he the one that chased the Smurfs?
Who?
Gilgalad? What'd you say?
No, Gilgamesh.
Gilgamesh?
Gilgamesh.
Wasn't that his name, Gilgamesh in Israel?
I don't know.
Chad from the Smurfs?
Was that his name?
No. It was Gargamel.
I'm just
playing.
Gilgamesh. You made me. I couldn't think. But Gilgamesh is it's a story, and an old story, Sumerian story, and but it basically is same with Nimrod and Babylon and the Tower of Babel and all that, and Nephilim. Gilgamesh was a Nephilim, and it's pretty wild. A lot of amazing stories, but there was a guy named Rob Skiba that was doing a lot of research, and he got really close to some things. I think he was hitting home, and then the poor guy, he got COVID and died, and he was young. He was only probably maybe 7 years older than us.
You think he really died of COVID?
I have no idea. I don't. Who knows? Yeah. I mean, that's what they said he died of. Yeah. His family couldn't understand it. He was a young guy.
Just more, that was all such, man, that whole, like even again, like I had an old friend of mine.
If they put you on a vent, you die.
Yeah. Well, man, but Bub's dad, Bub was here the other day on the DeTalente podcast, Bub Frazier, because he had this transverse myelitis and recovered. They didn't think he was going to walk in. But Denny died a couple years ago from COVID, they said.
Yeah.
But Dennis was like, dude, my dad died of a stroke. It was like, and they had to fight and go all the way to finally the coroner to change the death certificate because the doctor would not change it because he was getting bonused on it.
They got bonuses if they marked it COVID.
But here's the thing. That doctor was willing to let that happen. He was okay with the fact that Bub's mom, because he died of COVID, stopped receiving his military retirement. He was in Vietnam. They cut her off of his military benefits. They will. Yep. Because he died of COVID. So he finally got to the coroner, and the coroner was like, "They did what? Your dad's," and she changed it and sent it in. And her mom and his mom started getting her benefits back.
My good friend, he passed away, and then a few months later, his dad passed away, and it was during COVID, and they marked his death COVID. And my buddy's wife said he had pneumonia. I mean, she flat out said he had pneumonia. She goes,
COVID, but COVID pneumonia.
It was a spinoff of pneumonia.
Well, this guy you was talking about. Did he have
Frazier?
a career in the Army?
Well, he fought in Vietnam, but he owned Frazier's Body Shop, Denny Frazier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he was wounded or something in the Vietnam. I'm trying to figure out how come he had
Benefits.
Yes. Yeah. So he was exposed to Agent Orange.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why he got
I'm not eligible for no benefits because
the worst thing that happened to you was you got fed dog. That's what I tell everybody. I've talked about it in the podcast twice. I'm like, like the worst thing I was like, my dad's the luckiest man in the world, man. He went in the Army during Vietnam. Tell me God didn't take care of him. The worst thing that happened to him in the military, besides things he got himself into, was he thought he was eating some meat and was eating dog.
Yeah.
That's God's. Hey, people say, well, that's talking about God's favor. How did you not end up in the war? I mean, you went in.
You know what's funny?
Yeah, by all rights, I should have been over there.
That's where you were where Elvis was at. Elvis was stationed in Germany.
Yeah, right across the street from my barracks was.
Yeah. And what's funny is when he filmed GI Blues, they showed the area you guys were in.
Yeah.
In GI Blues.
How long did Mom live there? A year or 2 years? Did Mom live in Germany with you 2 years?
6 months.
It's only 6 months.
I was only in 18 months in Germany.
Okay.
So she lived.
And she was only there. So you were there a year without her?
Yeah. I was there a year before she got there. Then when she got there, she was there with me 6 months, and she come back home, and I had 6 months to go.
Well, that's longer than 18 months.
Yeah.
But you were there a total 18 months.
18 months.
So I bet you were there 6. She came for 6. Then you had 6 left.
Yeah.
Okay. But when you got married, you flew straight to Germany or basic training, right?
I was in basic training when I got.
Because you came home in your uniform.
I was in basic training, and I finished my basic training. And I went to Fort Lee, Virginia for my AIT, which Advanced Individual Training. And I had to get my commanding officer's permission to get married. And he said, I don't know if I want to do this. You're so young. I said, I want to get married. I said, there's nothing stopping me from getting married. And he said, okay. And he signed a paper for me to marry your mother.
And then you came home, got married, then you flew to Germany.
Yeah, I came home on a Friday night. I had been a bad boy coming home with some drinks that I had. And I got off the airplane, and she said, come on, hurry up. Brother Johnny's at the church waiting on us. And I got off the plane, went to the church, and got married.
And then when did you have to leave again?
June.
Oh, I thought it was real quick.
I did too.
Oh, I had to go. I got married that weekend and went back home, went back that Sunday night.
Okay.
So that was, we're on the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew it was quick. I kind of even almost thought you got married and had to go straight to get on.
He almost, if he got there Friday, and left Sunday.
Left Sunday, it ain't very long. I know.
That's how Jocelyn's trip was. She got here Friday night and left Sunday after church.
Back then, they had what you called military hops, and I could go to the airport, and if they had someone didn't show up or something,
I think you still have that.
Do they?
Where you can get on. You can fly standby anytime you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd go standby and I'd fly back to.
If there's an open seat.
When you and Aaron worked at the airport, didn't you get to fly a lot?
We could fly standby anytime we wanted.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I forgot about you working at the airport.
Yeah, if there was an open seat on the plane you wanted to jump on it, you could. I mean, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I mean, for the airline you work for.
Sure.
But then but if you had a friend that worked for another one, you could go so Aaron worked for Comair, which was Delta, and I worked for Northwestern. which is defunct now. Northwest. Remember that was one of the
It
biggest
doesn't
airlines in the
exist.
world.
Yeah.
Remember
Yeah.
Northwestern
I
Airlines?
flew that one a lot
Yeah.
back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The red planes.
Red and gray.
Yeah.
Yeah. Red and gray.
I flew to Memphis a few times because that's where the hub was. So they had flights to Memphis like every few hours. That's where the big hub for Northwestern was from Evansville.
And it's completely gone now.
Northwestern doesn't exist anymore. And you know,
Did something buy them?
they had to. I'm sure that an airline
Did
just
they get
didn't go
absorbed by
completely
something? Yeah, I
defunct.
can't.
I don't know. I'll look that up because I am curious about that. But I don't remember if they did. They never made a big deal. Like Comair got bailed out by Delta, right? So there's Delta.
Yeah.
But see, back then what they did was there was these little airlines that were just subsidiaries of the bigger airlines, right? And so they flew out of the little airports like Evansville. So like I worked for Northwestern Airlines, and the big airline that we're talking about was just called Northwest.
Yeah.
The only difference was I worked for Northwestern, if you worked for the subsidiary of Delta was called Comair.
Right.
That's who like you worked for here. If you worked for Delta, you actually worked for Comair, which was those, dude, when I worked at the airport, and I'm talking about those planes, they were twin prop planes.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
I
had
remember the first time I flew was a prop.
When I worked there at the airport was when they first brought in the first jet service, small jet service. And that was Delta was the one that brought it in. Comair.
Weren't those called Whisper Jets or something
I
like
think they're
that?
still called Whisper Jets.
Yeah.
Maybe. They're those ones that's 2 seats on one side, 1 seat on
Yeah.
the other. You can't even put your carry-on in the, like if you have carry-on, you have to check it with the ticket person because you can't even get it on the plane.
Yeah.
So then you don't even have your bags or whatever, the whole time. I hate them little Whisper. That's the only downfall I think of flying directly out of Evansville. You always got to get a connection. It's almost better to fly to like Nashville or to drive to Nashville or Louisville. Now
Evansville now has direct flights like to Orlando and.
They didn't. Well, not for us. We flew to Orlando. We had to go to.
Or is it Destin?
Well, if you
Maybe
go
it's
to-
direct
if-
flight to Destin.
If you hook up with Allegiant,
Yeah, but
Allegiant Airline,
Yeah,
they have direct flights to Tampa, and they have direct flights.
but
to,
Allegiant don't even fly to Evansville.
huh?
Allegiant don't fly to Evansville. To get on Allegiant, Mom has to go to that Bellevue.
No, that's changed. They fly out of Evansville now.
Man, I didn't see no Allegiant flights. when I
Yeah, they
was
sure
there.
do.
Yeah, I don't know.
But you don't get. I don't know. I know those are those little $100 flights. Those are like Spirit Airlines, Spirit and Allegiant.
about the same
I
thing.
don't know about them. I don't know if I want to be going discount brand on a flight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but if you notice, the airplane crashes has been the big planes like Boeing's.
Well, they probably all use the same brand aircrafts. I don't think it's the brand of aircrafts. I think it's the maintenance and upkeep and all that stuff that they have. Like what they got to be doing something. They're cutting costs somewhere. Because a ticket costs $500 on one airline and $99.95 on theirs. There's got to be, they're cutting costs somewhere. I don't know. Travel's crazy. I used to not flying's. If you can fly and the trip go according to plan, it's cool. But otherwise, so like that, when we come home from Orlando the other day, I literally would have been home earlier had I rented a car and took off at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
I would have drove home faster than I got home
Because of your layover.
because of the delays.
Yeah.
Well, that's
It's
what
awful.
happened to Karen. She
Yeah.
had a layover coming back in where was it, New Orleans or whatever, but it was crazy. And she said I could have drove and got home sooner.
When I come home out of the Army, I took a flight from Frankfurt, Germany, and flew all the way to Indianapolis, Indiana. And then I got to Indianapolis, and I had a stinking 8-hour layover in Indianapolis.
That's a long time.
Remember,
Just to
Brian,
get here from Indianapolis?
To get
Remember,
from
Brian, when
Indianapolis
you-
to Evansville.
you and I rode to get Stephanie from Indianapolis Airport,
Yeah, I do.
and we drove back. We went and got Stephanie.
Yeah,
DeBosch, yeah. Brian and I did.
yeah, I do remember that. What was it? Was it Indianapolis?
Yeah, because she was coming Michigan, flying from Michigan to Indy, and you and I went to Indy and picked her up from the airport. Yeah, that's crazy.
That's what is that when she moved here for a little bit?
I don't think so. Maybe she was coming here to.
Because she come and stayed with you guys
Yeah,
for a while.
she-
She
stayed for a
stayed
while.
for a year. She
Yeah.
went to UE for 1 year.
And that's when she worked at the hospital.
Yeah, Mom hired she. She was here a little longer than a year. and then her sophomore year, she went back. I believe, yeah, it was her sophomore year. She went back to Michigan.
All right. Well, cool. It's getting late. I'm tired. And you guys?
I'm doing everything I can to keep my head up.
So here's the thing, just a nutshell about the prodigal son, because we got to talking about airplanes and travel and
that's
life,
all right.
which is okay.
Yeah.
That's what it's about, and people can learn more about our, just be a part of our conversations.
Yeah.
But it almost goes back to last week's podcast. We're who God says we are, not who we think we are.
That's right.
And the prodigal son was hoping his dad would just give him a job and feed him some decent food and gave him a roof over his head. But his dad instead welcomed him with open arms, put a ring on his finger, gave him the fatted calf, and had a big old celebration because his son had returned. That's how God looks at us. And so, when we're judging ourselves and we're judging others, we should pray, God, let us look at people the way you do. Like let us love people the way you do, Father. Let us look at people the way you do. When we're angry with someone, Father, let us look at them, and love them the way that you do. And don't think God's not disappointed in us. I mean, when we're doing things we shouldn't be doing, you better believe God's disappointed. I mean, I can't, it doesn't give us a get out of jail free card. God does get disappointed in things we do, but he never stops loving us.
I seen this thing on news the other day. This guy owned a kind of like a pantry, and I think he was in New York, and the kids would come in there and he'd give them some chips or something. And then he got to talking to him, and he told him, he said, if you will get on the honor roll, he said, I'll give you more stuff. And so he did. The kids began to bring in the paper showing that they made the honor roll.
That's awesome.
And he'd give them stuff. And finally, he was handing out weeks of groceries to these kids' mom and them because they couldn't afford nothing. And he was just
encouraging them.
Yeah. He was
and blessing them.
Yeah.
Encouraging them and blessing them.
And I told your mom, I said, now that's God at work.
Yeah.
I said, I don't know anything about that man, and he might not know God. I don't know. I said, but that's God at work.
I feel our church does a good job of that.
I feel that the church does a tremendous job.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's been real. It's been fun. It's even been real fun. Hey, don't forget everybody that would. I'm going to put this up here on the screen for you. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel at the Refuge Christian Church. Subscribe, comment, like, do all that stuff, even on these, especially on this church podcast, because this helps the channel grow, which means we reach more people for Jesus, which is what we want to do, not only with our church, which obviously is the main reason that we exist, but also with this podcast. We hope that we can reach people who don't necessarily come here. So if you're part of our church family, man, we're so glad that you spent your Wednesday, whatever time you're watching this with us, or if it's your first time watching, you're new, and maybe you're looking for somewhere to go to church if you're new to the Southern Indiana area, or maybe you live in Timbuktu and you just need encouragement, man. We hope you watch this and get encouragement from it.
Give the service times
to every single week. Yeah. Service times can be found on our Facebook page or anywhere, but our service times are real simple. They're on Sunday mornings. We got TRCC Unplugged at 9 a.m. and we've got TRCC Loud at 10:45. So always come expecting, and we believe God to do big things in your life because that's a promise that he gives us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick it over to Pastor Gordon tonight, and Pastor Gordon is going to pray us out.
I want to thank you for listening, and I hope you continue listening. Tell your friends and your neighbors about the podcast. And at this time, we're going to go to the Lord in prayer. Heavenly Father, today, we give praise and glory and honor to you. We thank you, God, for all that you do and all that you're going to do. We ask your blessing, Lord, upon all those that are in need. God, heal those that are sick, save those that are lost, Lord. And God, bless this podcast that it will minister to many others. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.